Hello everyone and welcome this evening. Welcome to my global conference presentation. My name is Caise and I want to thank our sponsors and supporters for this great conference that Steve Hargadon and Lucy Gray have coordinated. And I'd love to find out where you're located. If you'll click on the second icon that's on the side of the whiteboard and then click and show us where you're located on the map, that would be great to find out where everybody is joining us. And I see some from Australia. You may have to click on it twice. You can also type in the chat where you're from, maybe the temperature since it's pretty chilly, and welcome to everybody who's joining this evening. I'm so honored that you've come to my session. And we'll be talking tonight about connecting classrooms through global projects and different learning activities and resources that you can do with your students. If you've already participated and you do participate in global projects with your students, I would love for you to make those comments in the chat as we go along. So this evening I'm going to be sharing, but I'd also like you to share, and I'd like you to share comments in the chat, share links to the work that you're doing, share any questions that you might have, and I'll get to those at the end of towards the end of the session. If you are able to answer somebody else's question, I invite you to do so, and then share out any tweets with the Global Ed 2014 or KK Global, either one. All of the links that I'm going to share with you tonight, you don't need to write them down. I will have them on my blog, the entire slide share at kimcaise.com, but you can also follow all of the resources and even more resources that I won't have time to share with you at that live binder link, the bit.ly kkglobal. You might want to write that one down, and I'll have it again at the end so that you can follow the links and have all of the resources, and you don't have to copy each link down from the slides. So we're going to talk about why global collaborative projects. And it's great to expose our students to other cultures and events that are going around the world. And then we can stimulate authentic, relevant projects that they might experience and when they have graduated or when they're in the workforce. And we also want to increase student achievement due to an increased audience. And the research that I've listed there shows that when you have an increased audience beyond the student's peer base, the students perform better. And I'll share a little bit about how I personally saw that when I get to some of those slides. So the first thing I want to talk about is web conferencing or video conferencing. Both of those terms I use interchangeably. And I'm going to share with you just briefly what I consider and how we did web conferencing with us, and share with you the types that we did, as well as some web conferencing projects and tools for you to connect your classroom with other classrooms. And web conferencing has come a long way. It used to be the video conferencing equipment, like in a boardroom shown here, and it was very expensive and classrooms just could not afford that. And it's evolved to different tablets and just a small webcam, and with your students when the technology has definitely become So let me share with you some of the past web conferencing projects that I've had. We did a 4th grade open mic. We did a 1st grade writing share. And we did some online Jeopardy competitions. And I'll show you how we set those things up. We used a different platform called Adobe Breeze at the time, which is now Adobe Connect. Okay, let me make sure my mic is set. Thank you for letting me know, Barbara. We used Adobe Breeze, and we used 2 classrooms in 1 session. And hopefully the audio is better now. Great. We used a split screen where our class was on the right and their class was on the left. And we had the 2 classes meet in a web conferencing room just like tonight. And we just put everything, all of our equipment on a cart. And you can see the split screen that's on that image on the laptop. And we have speakers and we have a projector. And we got our classes together. And we had 4th graders who were preparing for the writing state test. We had the 4th graders read their composition and give critical feedback to one another, but we kept it very positive. Like, I like how you included this part of your narrative, of your story. And we also did that with 1st graders. And so that was really interesting to see. But there are some things that you need to consider when you're doing web conferencing, whatever platform that you use. And one of those is make sure the students that you have that are on camera are interested, are paying attention, are awake, are focused and active. And that's why whenever in the future we did web conferences, we had something for every student to do, whether they were on the camera or not on the camera. Also, make sure the teachers are focused and they're helping kind of patrol or monitor and kind of do crowd control. It's real important that that happens too. Also, one thing we found out with the equipment was that we needed to use an external microphone and external speakers. It was really hard to hear with just the laptop, and it was hard for the other class to hear with the internal microphone. So we learned that it's best to use external equipment whenever possible. And they didn't need to be expensive, just external so that they can be project and the sound could be heard better. So we learned that firsthand after several different conferences. So some of the equipment, all you need basically to do this is a laptop, a webcam, speakers. This was the type of external mic that we used. And then just a basic projector, just very basic technology equipment that most classrooms have or that most can get access to. And thank you for sharing that link, Barbara. That's great. We also did online Jeopardy competitions where we competed against each other, and we used just a basic PowerPoint. And I'll show you, I have a link to several different PowerPoint types, one for Millionaire, one for all kinds of things. So I'll give you a link to that towards the end of the session. But what we did was we had 2 projectors in each classroom. We had a contestant row where the 3 students would come down. They would answer a math problem and show it to ring a bell once they had their answer and show it to the projector. And then if they were right, the class got a point. And we went back and we tried to kind of go back and forth and make the points even. But what was important was that we found that we had every student in the room having to solve the same math problem. If a student that missed it or did not get the problem correct, then we went to the other classroom. If neither classroom could get the problem correct, then we went to the student audience, and those students could get points for their classroom. So it's real important to make sure that all of the students are working on something, the same thing, or some task, so that they're participating in the conference, in the web conference, and not just sitting there watching what's going on. So let me share with you now some of the global projects and experiences that you can take your students on without leaving your classroom. One of them is projects by Jen Wagner. She does a lot of elementary projects for the pre-K through the 6th grade classroom. She does an Oriole one and I think a window one. Anyway, they're very, very large scale. She does a great job of coordinating them, and the students really enjoy participating in her projects. So I highly encourage you to get her newsletter and follow her on Twitter and participate in some of her projects. I believe she may charge a small fee for some of them, and then the other ones, they're free, like $5 or $10 a classroom. So I highly encourage you to check those out. Another one is Civil War Sallie and Patriot Pete. Both of those, basically, you can write to Civil War Sallie and Patriot Pete through their wiki space and request that they send out the Civil War Sallie doll or the Patriot Pete doll. And then you can take Civil War Sallie on a field trip. And then when you're finished with the field trip, you send back pictures and a narrative of what Civil War Sallie did on the field trip and things that she saw on the field trip, kind of like the traveling bear. And it's really exciting because she posts the information on, it's a little 10-year-old girl, or she was 10 at the time that she started the project. And she posts the events that Civil War Sallie went on the wiki, and same with Patriot Pete. So those are two great ways that you can participate with different classes, because you can see where the different classes have gone. Another one is 21st Century Schools, and at the link towards the bottom here, you'll see different ongoing projects that you can join, or you can start your own project that you'd like to do with others and have others join you. And this is a great way for you to connect with different classes or be a participant and get your feet wet of how you can structure things with different classes. And ePals, some of you may be familiar with ePals. ePals is a way that you can set up pen pals with students, and it is secure email. They screen it, and you don't have to, each student doesn't have to have a separate email provided by your school or your school district. ePals, they will get, if you join a project, then they get an email, and the email is monitored, so that's a good thing. And they have different projects that you can also participate in, so you might want to consider that as a starting point. That's a great way to start getting your feet wet and learning and making connections with different classrooms around the world. And the time zones are an issue. But if you're doing something like ePals that's asynchronous, then you don't have to worry about the time zones, and you don't have to worry about the live activities. And the Iditarod is great, has lots of resources, and you can follow along with one of the racers that's in the Iditarod. They have reportings each day, and they take pictures and they share things along the way. And you can participate in it. It's like you're, actually there on the Iditarod in some cases. It's very detailed, and the kids really like seeing the race and the dogs and the equipment and everything that they use. So that's a great one to start out with too. And I love that you're sharing the links. Continue doing so. Kids Go Global is another one that you can sign up for different projects that are global, and you can make connections with different classrooms. They have all kinds of topics that you can research, the different types of projects that you'd want to participate in, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, and again, considering time zones. And Discovery Education, how many of you, by typing in the chat, if you have Discovery Education services? I know a lot of states, yes, a lot of states provide it. I know Texas does. But there, if you are part of the Den has a lot of virtual field trips. They have a lot of different ways that you can connect with other classrooms, and then you can start your own project or host one of your own projects and connect with other teachers and other educators to find out what they're doing in their classroom with and without the resources. It can just be a place to connect as part of the Den, the Discovery Education Network. So I highly recommend, if you have a subscription, if your district or your school pays for that, I highly encourage you to connect with the Den. And yes, that was fabulous. And connect with classrooms around the world. And this one, the online model, this one has high school, and they also have a practice or model UN for the middle school level. At the time it was just high school students, but they actually have ambassadors and have it set up where they do model just like the United Nations meetings, and those are really interesting to participate in, as well as to stand back and watch and see the conversations that take place through the different students. So I highly encourage you to explore this site and participate in this with your students if your students are at that age. Now I'd like to kind of switch things, and we're going to talk about gamification and playing games in the classroom. And this is a book that I wrote, and so some of the things that I'm going to share with you, ways to gamify your classroom, are in my book. I won't have time to go into everything that's in the book, but I, at the end of the session, I'm going to be giving away a copy of my book. So make sure that you participate in that drawing. And I'm also going to give away a copy of another gamification book from an author, Carl Kapp, who is just phenomenal with gamification. And we're going to talk about mystery adventure quests. And regarding gamification, teachers believe all of these things, and they see such great benefits from gamification, but they're not sure where to start or how to gamify and how to use games in the classroom. And we've all used different kinds of games around the world with flashcards and so forth, but we're talking more of a philosophy and with gamification than just playing games for the game's sake. Gamification is more about playing games with content and different levels, leveling up and earning badges. Sometimes it's your structure and your content in the game are played independently, and sometimes they're played in a group. And I'm going to give you some resources that you can consult and look up and research and learn a bit more in depth I'm just going to briefly go over. And so these are some of the benefits that teachers have found when they gamify their classroom. And not many teachers are really doing gamification. They play games with their students like to fill time, and that's not really gamification. That's not really the philosophy per se. One thing that businesses have found, and that the colleges and the workplaces, these skills that they're looking for, they have found these skills to be developed as a result of playing these games, that they develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills, and administrators, teachers, parents, and community members see them and see the value. And you can, this information comes from the Project Tomorrow report. So you can read that report, and it gives you much more detailed information on some of the things that are occurring in classrooms. So what I'd like to do now is give away the first book, which is called The Gamification of Learning and Instruction. And this is the one that Carl Kapp wrote. So if everybody would, underneath their hand, click on the hand so that you'll get a number next to your name if you'd like to participate in the drawing. And I'm going to do the drawing live. Great, Amber. Super. Go ahead and raise your hand. And keep your hands raised. Don't put them down, because then you will lose your number. And so then I'm going to go to random.org. I'm going to attempt to do that. My computer is cooperating. Okay. Doesn't look like it's going to show up, but okay, once everybody gets their hands raised, there it is. Let me get to the random drawing. Okay. It's not working. Let me come back. We'll come back to the slide. And I'll do it offline. I apologize that it's not working where you can see. So we have 1 through 9 people. So 1 through 9. Okay, let me click on it. And number 7. Who is number 7? Melissa. Great, Melissa. If you will email me your mailing address, then Melissa, to this mailing, to my email address, then I will mail you out the book. So congratulations. And I'm going to have another one, another drawing towards the end of the session. So everybody stay for that. So we're going to go ahead and go on. And these are some of the gamification gurus. I mentioned Carl Kapp in the book that he wrote. There's also a lot of the students play Minecraft EDU. That's a huge game, and they play that at home as well as in the classroom. An Institute of Play, that's a whole campus that is, their whole entire curriculum is based on gamification, and you can see them playing a game right there with their teacher. The K-12 online this year, they had a strand of gamification, and part of that, one of the sessions was on gamified, that middle one, and part of that included Vicki Davis and some other teachers. So I encourage you to explore that strand of the K12onlineconference.com and view some of the presentation videos that were created and submitted as part of that conference. And Jane McGonigal is huge in the area of gamification, and she did a TED Talk on gamification in the classroom. So I encourage you to explore that TED Talk. It's only about 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. And Gaming in Ed was also another conference that Steve Hargadon coordinated, and it was all about gamification in education. So all of those sessions are on gamification and some resources for you. So there are tons of resources out there. It's just, it was a great conference. It really was. So all of the resources are out there. It's just finding time to explore them. So hopefully with the holidays, you'll be able to explore some of the experts and what the experts are doing. And then you can do that for your classroom, because there really are great benefits when you're doing this. And the kids are already doing these games. And when we structure them, oh, that's a great ed talk. The kids are already doing these things, and so when we can model that in the classroom, we have more engaged students and more motivated students. So that's why I'm a big fan of gamification. And in the game mechanics of the games, the students earn points, or they may earn a trophy or a badge. They level up and go to different levels. If you've ever played Angry Birds, you'll notice, yes, it's a game, but there's a lot of math content that the students learn. They learn velocity, they learn about angles, they learn about arcs, they learn about parabolas. And I could go on and on about the different things that they learn mathematically and in physics and science just by playing Angry Birds. And then you could talk about afterwards some of the concepts and show, okay, well, when you use this bird, it does this, and how do you speed up the velocity with some of the different birds. So those are some of the things that you can do with gamification or playing Angry Birds or something similar, and really get into some in-depth concepts, more so than you could without having a gamified learning game or learning environment. And a lot of the gamification things come in the form of competitions. They have leaderboards, but you don't have to have a leaderboard. They win virtual points or stars or trophies or badges. And Bunchball is a source for gamification, and that's where I got this information from when I was doing the research for my book. And so before you begin, these are some of the questions that you might want to prepare when you're creating a game or you're going to implement a game with your students. What is the learning objective? What's the learning content that you want your students to master and to experience? And maybe you don't want them to master it. Maybe you just want them to be exposed to the content. This is an initial activity. It depends on whatever your learning objectives are and what are the participants going to need to do to meet that learning objective. And what tools will you have so that they can attempt this game that you're going to implement. And are these, so that you don't really have the pushback from administration, are the tasks aligned to the curriculum that you have to teach, to Common Core standards, or those who don't, states like Texas that does not follow Common Core, we have our own state standards that we have to follow in Texas. So those are some of the things that you'll want to keep in mind when you're planning and preparing to implement gamification into your classroom. And factors to consider, again, the time. It takes time and takes time away from teaching because you're now facilitating and the students are doing the learning, kind of learning on their own sometimes. The cost, the equipment that you might have available, do you need to check it out? Do you have to go track it down? Is it working equipment? Those kinds of things. Standards, alignment. Are the tools flexible? Are they able to be used in the classroom? And the level of technology experience of your students and the educators that you're going to be working with, or yourself if you're the educator. And when we talk about mystery quests, which is what my next topic is going to be, a mystery adventure quest, when you structure those, you have a guiding question or some type of mystery question that you want them to solve, and you have different clues and different things along the way, like pit stops, like the Amazing Race, similar to that environment, where they have to complete a task and then they get information to go on to the next task and the next task. And that's what my book is about, is Mystery Adventure Quest. But there's so much that you can learn and set up in Mystery Adventure Quest that it's really, really interesting when you structure them. And I learned about Mystery Adventure Quest from Dr. Chris Bigenho from the ISTE conference. It used to be called NEC at the time, several years ago. He did a presentation on Mystery Adventure Quest that he would do with his students, and I believe he had high school students. And he, in the live binder where there's some social media simulators, he would have like a fake newspaper clip, because there's one of those generators, as well as nowadays you can simulate fake text messages with clues for your students to follow, or for the next task, go on to number 30, such and such. So you can take any activity and sort of make it into a mystery or a game and really increase the student performance and achievement by doing so, because students are definitely much more engaged and they develop those career readiness skills. And it's important to consider Bloom's taxonomy, even though that's very basic of instructional design. We do want them to remember different concepts, but we also want them creating things and doing things at the top. And this is an example of Bloom's taxonomy, using different Web 2.0 tools as examples for each different level. So if you wanted to save this presentation, you could go up to File, Save As, and save the whole group, and you want to save it as a PDF, and you can have access to this, as well as it's going to be on my blog. And I will also put it on SlideShare so that you can have access to it that way as well. But this is a great example and a great Bloom's taxonomy. I just keep it posted so I can have some tools for the different levels to make sure that when I create a mystery adventure quest for students or educators to follow, that the mystery adventure quest does tap into several different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. One of the things that you can include is a Google Plus virtual field trip. Google Plus is now doing virtual field trips, and these are great because you can go on a field trip without even leaving your classroom, and they're very, very well done. So I highly recommend that you explore those and sign up for those and participate in those. The Den also does a lot of virtual field trips, and I post those on my blog whenever they come up. So I encourage you to look for those, and maybe just start with that and start with the mystery question and that you're going to go on a pretend field trip, and at the end you're going to discover something, whatever your mystery question is. We used to just use these and do these in the classroom, in the computer lab, and this is an example of how we used to do our setup. And you can see that with the projector, this was the eruption about the Hawaiian volcanoes. And what you can't see is that just before that there were experts and two students were interviewing experts on the Hawaiian volcanoes. And you can also call in and ask the experts live online different questions. And so we were in the computer lab and we called in on my cell phone, and we were able to ask, one of my students was able to ask one of the experts a question. It was answered live online for all of the United States, all the students participating in all the classrooms. And we were real excited that that got to happen, because as soon as he hung up, they had problem with their technology, and all of the questions had to be submitted via text through their website, and you couldn't call in anymore. But that was just something really exciting for us to participate in that virtual field trip. And Skype in the classroom is a great way to connect, and you can also use web conferencing in your mystery quest. Whether it's you're conferencing with the classroom next door, or you're conferencing with a class around the world, or on the other side of the United States or your country. And one of them is Mystery Skype, where you give clues to the other classroom and you meet on Skype and you use the video and everything. And if you search the archives on the Classroom 2.0 Live site, this was started by Steve Hargadon, and I used to be one of the co-hosts at the time. And we did several shows that mentioned Mystery Skype, and this is a great thing to include in a mystery adventure quest. And if you do a search, you can see some of the webinars that we did that included Mystery Skype as part of the topic. So I encourage you to definitely check that out. Kids just love doing that. And it's not just for younger students, because you could be asking questions about the climate, about the terrain, and the other class would have to give clues and receive clues and answer the clues and then take pictures. You can assign all kinds of different jobs to the students that participated. So, oh, that's great, Barbara. So Mystery Skype is becoming really big. And there was a session about 2 hours ago on Mystery Skype, so you might want to look up the recording link for that, for the Mystery Skype Global Ed Conference session. This is an example of a panoramic tour where you can see 360 degrees around this one. In this case is the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. But I have a wiki that I'm going to give to you, and it lists all of the some of the virtual field trips that you can go on. And this page right here that's in the live binder that I'm going to give you that link to again towards the end, lists some of the different virtual tours that you can go on that are 360-degree views of different things, like the Louvre. The Mount St. Helens one is really fabulous. There's also one on the Grand Canyon that's really cool. So it's like you're actually there. You really get to zoom in and see a lot of the structure or architecture, whatever you're going on a virtual field trip. And it is 360 degrees, so check those out and take your students on those kinds of field trips too. This is the wiki that I was referring to that has a lot of the resources that I've referred to. Case files, wikispaces.com. If you look on the right-hand side, these are the different things that are offered. And on the web conferencing page, these is much, much longer, but these are the different platforms that you can use to have a web conference. So in your mystery adventure quest, or if you're just having a web conference, you can use some of these different web conferencing platforms to be able to meet with another class and make those connections. And you can participate in different projects and also meet in a web conference similar to Skype, although you can use Skype. But if you're not able to use Skype for whatever reason, there's a whole list of about 30 or 40 different resources that you can explore. And I try to list if there's a cost to it and if it's free, or if it's limited to different users and stuff, so that to save you a little bit of time. And one of the ways that you could use a free Illuminate room is through the Learning or Blackboard Collaborate now, is through the Learning Revolution project through Steve Hargadon's site. You can use one of these rooms just like you're in now for free. All you have to do is sign up on the calendar and join the group, and then when you schedule it and you give a description and everything, and then he'll send you the moderator link and the participants link, and then you can have your own web conference with students, parents, however you want to structure it, and use one of these Blackboard Collaborate rooms for free. So that's really exciting because they're very easy to use, and there's lots of training out there and resources on how to use these rooms for web conferencing purposes. So I had that listed on the wiki as well, and some of the other resources I list of different video chats and Skyping that you can do with, and video conferencing, they sometimes call it. Just different resources to help you, all kinds of field trips, virtual field trips, e-field trips that you can do with your students. I tried to curate some of these. So it's been a while. I haven't had a chance to update every link to make sure that every link is working. So you can always drop me a line and let me know that the link is no longer valid. But this is the page that I was referring to where you can download the different templates and start out very small with gamification, very low tech, and then get your feet wet slowly and grow and develop your skills. And you can also do this in a web conference or part of your mystery adventure quest, and download these different PowerPoint presentations, change the questions and the answers to fit whatever you're working with. And all of these are free. You're welcome to download them all and use them all. The one at the top, the Math Jeopardy, that one is already created, just kind of for you to see how things work. And it's supposed to tabulate the score, although sometimes I had difficulty getting that part to work. But you can download and just change the questions and the answers to go along with whatever PowerPoint you choose. And so right now I'd like to use to give away one of my books, the book that I wrote, Kid Detectives on Classroom Gamification Learning Activities, specifically about Mystery Adventure Quests and the things that you can do for the Mystery Adventure Quest. So if everybody will click on the hand again. That wants to participate, and then I'm going to do the random.org, and again I'll have to do it offline. So good luck everyone, just like Melissa said. And here we go, 1 to 9, no 1 to 8. And it looks like it's number 1. Who's number 1? Barbara. Okay, Barbara, if you'll mail me your mailing address to my email address, then I will send you the book. I'll send you my book and I'll autograph it. You're very welcome. That's exciting. And I'm excited to be able to give it to you. I hope you'll like it. But that's the book that I wrote on Mystery Adventure Quest, and it goes into details on gamification and the benefits of that and how you can structure that in your classroom. And so I want to leave you with this thought as we come to the question and answer part, if there are any. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. And I hope that I've inspired you to try some of these different things. Try gamification, try web conferencing, and try Mystery Adventure Quests with your students, and to connect with the different classrooms around the world, around the globe, or whether it could be just as simple as in your school district. That's how I started, was just another class in the school district. I said, hey, you want to try this with me? And they did, and that's how this was started and how I got the fever for doing web conferencing and Mystery Adventure Quest. So thank you so much. If there are questions that I missed that went by in the chat, I'll be happy to answer them. I know that there are other sessions getting ready to start. I want to leave you with my contact information. And again, to let you know that you can check out, the slides will be posted to my blog at kimcaise.com. You can also use your cell phone and scan the QR codes, or your iPad or tablet. The live binder link is bit.ly at kcaise or /kcaise global. It has all of the links that I shared tonight and more. There's so much in that live binder. It'll take you a while to get through it. So there are a lot of resources that you can take back with you. You can also check slideshare.net for the slides as well. So if there are any questions, I'll go ahead and take them. And if not, I do hope that you will keep in contact with me and let me know how your web conferencing and your Mystery Adventure Quests are going. If you're going on virtual field trips or Skyping, Mystery Skype, I'd love to hear all about all of those situations. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know there are other sessions that are getting ready to start, but I want to, again, I'm honored that you came by tonight, and thank you so much.